Which day is your poster presentation? Monday, so you get it over with right away. You just sit there and absorb information for this happen. Try not to fall asleep. Okay. No, I was just wondering if it was going to be one of those like drags out until the end of the week, or you get it over with early and then actually enjoy yourself. Right. Okay, folks, Babbaginator here. Just a short run tonight. We have a lot to get done here. Okay, we need to find ourselves shelter quickly. I'm going to decide we're going to go over the top here. Oh, do we have... need all this. Yeah, we'll take the coal with us. If we feel like it, we can build a long fire. So yeah, folks, we're here just for a short time tonight. I was out at a dinner. Dinner ran long. Got back a little bit late. But still want to put in maybe about an hour. This challenge run is called Matchless because we are going without matches altogether. Just flares, maglins, and striker. So far we don't have a striker. We just have a maglins and some flares. And we're starting to run low on flares. So yeah, he sounds pretty close. Another wolf in here. Gotta keep an eye out for those things. At least we no longer have cabin fever. Ooh. That would have been disastrous. Throw it off the... I hear Mr. Moose out there. Yeah. Won't worry about that guy. Hey, EG, good to see you. Matchless. Thanks for the resub. Hope you're doing well. We're on a little bit late tonight. I was out at a dinner with some friends. Went a little bit longer than expected, and so didn't get started until just a little while ago. Just what? We've been on for 13 minutes. I had an interesting day today. I was up early and I was working on my CV. I spent so long earlier this year converting my CV into a professional CV for library applications, and then spent this morning creating another version which takes it back to being a literary CV for applying for writing positions and writing residencies. It's not to say I don't have a version that was like that before, but I wanted to take some of the lessons I'd learned from doing the librarian CV and apply it to the new CV format or new CV, target. So, anyways, that wasn't the interesting thing. That was just something I was doing in the morning, and then my roommate's going away. Or a conference, and we ended up going shoe shopping. That was the afternoon, shoe shopping. Quite the adventure, because we had both forgotten it's Father's Day weekend, so all the stores were crazy busy. But it was funny. Oh, we were almost done. Uh-oh. It's out. I should put more fire on there. Oh, well. That was unfortunate. Now our choices are see if the clouds clear. No, they do not. Two flares left. Oh, this looks better already. Or not. Hmm. Okay, we'll give it another hour and then we'll just take a flare and go. This really does not look good, does it? We got nothing. Now it's just gusty. Hmm. Yeah, I feel like we missed our chance. We have enough that we can make ourselves snow shelter if we have to. Snowy, but not windy. I don't feel comfortable about this. I feel like we'll get to the other side of the mine. We'll have to build snow shelter in the dark. Yeah, that feels like a bad idea. Use up all our lantern fuel. Yeah. Oh yeah, we still have no bedroll. Good to see you, Roller. Yeah, we started late tonight. Yeah, some friends invited me over for dinner, and dinner went later than I expected. So. I had the long dinner. Yes, I did. It did not involve eating bear or wolves. And I was not invited by bears or wolves for dinner. Oops. Oh, poor socks are all beaten up. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, I think we're good. How many torches do we have now? Grab a couple more. Boards? We can skip the boards. Actually won't, but extra cloth is useful anyways. Backpack? let's cook up some fish. Okay, let's grab the last of our stuff here. Yeah, it'd be really good if we had a bedroll and make coastal crumbling highway much easier to navigate. As it is, our choices are build a snow shelter or zip through it and try to long haul it for either misanthropes or the Quonset. Pros be for wolves. What do you want to hear? Do you want to hear essay? Do you want to hear Oh, some other critical writing on something? Open-minded. Okay. Yeah, let's bring Astrid to the mine entrance and then we'll read something. Oh no, nothing left. Okay, we will hop over and read something. Let's see here. Nonfiction. Okay. Well, this is the one that popped up that I had almost forgotten about. Tomorrow's Father's Day, and as you know, my father passed away back in 2007. So I was just looking through my old files and I saw that I had saved one of my blog posts from right before his passing. So this is dated April 19th, 2007. And as I read it now, I can see very much like the parts of poems that I ended up writing, as well as things that probably, I mean, the whole thing probably could be its own little essay. So I'm going to read it in honor of my father and in memory of, well, in solidarity with anyone else who doesn't have their father with them anymore right now. So here we go. So right now I'm in Penticton. The weather is beautiful, sunny some days, cool and overcast on others. A wind is blowing through the valley. My father has moved to the hospice house for his remaining time. These days he can no longer move his own hands and arms. His tongue has stopped working. We must rely on his eyes. When he wishes to say yes, he raises his eyebrows, an old habit picked up as a missionary in New Zealand and in the Cook Islands when he was young. When he wishes to say no, he closes his eyes tight. Even this is becoming taxing for him. We see him staring straight ahead more often, as if he were seeing something we cannot, or that he's fixed on a goal. He's become a man on a boat with no oars, drifting forward with the tide, gradually heading to the horizon and beyond. We are on the shore watching. Right now, I'm in a place between grief and comfort. Right now, I'm ready to say goodbye, but not exactly ready. Right now, there are poems I have written which have shed their mass and revealed themselves as elegies. Right now, there are more poems to write. Each line of words is what tethers me to the world of the present, each movement an echo of my own heart. I'm spending this month in Penticton, celebrating my birthday this Saturday, and saying goodbye to my father, my first and staunchest fan. In a little while he will pass on, and I will give the eulogy at his memorial service. And after that, I'll head back to Port Coquitlam to finish packing, to move my books into storage, to sell off my furniture, and finally to fill my car with my things and drive back here to Penticton. I will spend June and part of July with my mother, and we will take care of whatever needs to be done before I leave for USC. Right now, my mother says, she has locked away her sorrow to focus on caring for my father. She has hefted this weight and marched steadfastly for months. I've only been home for weeks, and I can already sense, what I did not know so well before, how strong my mother is, how determined and unfailing in her service and care. In these hard and difficult times, it is this remarkable woman who comes to the front and pushes forward, ever forward. My father, I am certain, will remain with us after his passing. He will continue to stand by us, continue to remind us of what needs to be done, wherever I go, whatever I write. I'm certain he will be there to cheer me on. In this month of poetry, in the midst of language, on the shores of the ocean of memory, I am learning the words of an old song, the one every son has sung at some point since the world began. There you go. So, and yeah, 2 days later he passed away. And that was it. But I mean, I can look back at this and I can see like the starts or pieces of some of the other poems that ended up in the book. And I think about sort of that frame of mind I was in during those days and how like wrestling with like knowing I was about to lose my father, navigating grief, navigating faith, navigating anxiety, and all these different things, and finding my home in language. And for that time period, this, 2007, this was, I was still finishing what would have become my first book. So I was a writer, I was with an MFA, but I was running a literary journal, but I was not like a big name anywhere. I'm not a big name now, but but I mean, back then my blog was partly the way I connected to other writers and partly the way in which I was navigating my own emotional realities, the things that I was struggling with, and then finding through that writing process my way to poetry again. So yeah. So it's a little bit sadder, but that's kind of what came to mind, thinking about, tomorrow is Father's Day. And I don't know yet if I'll do a stream tomorrow. I don't have my usual Sunday night game. So I have the night off, and I haven't decided what I'm doing. So, but yeah. Okay. There's some other funnier things. We might read those some other time. But right now, we need to plow through, get to the other side. Oh, more coal. If we only had a bedroll, we could sleep in the cave. We could keep a fire going all night long and sleep in the cave. Oh. Can't see? Wait, you can't see? Yeah, we're just wandering around in the mine picking up coal pieces. Not only is it matchless, it's blind. Nothing. That'd actually be kind of funny to do a blind loper in which it's not the player that's blind, it's the viewers. And you just narrate to them what's happening. Now I'm going through the mine. Now I'm picking up coal pieces. Look at me pick up coal pieces. Oh no, a wolf is attacking me. It's biting my head off. Oh no, it's ripping through all my clothes. Yeah. Ooh, look, another cattail. I mean, it's early enough in the day we could make it to Coastal Highway, so I'm confident that that is the plan. I think our best plan is to go all the way to Quonset. Although we are carrying stinky guts, so we might have to worry about the bear. Long dark audiobook version. By this point, Astrid was no longer embarrassed by her hair. She was used to wearing whatever she could find, and her hair just jammed into whatever tattered, nasty-looking toque that she had located on the edge of the ice or pulled off of a corpse. It was fashionable if one did not need to impress anyone. Come on, little fire, she begged. Come on. Light. Light, damn it, light. Her voice was filled with desperation. Somewhere on the far edge of the darkness, stars blinked and vanished into the open sea. The moon disappeared behind a cloud. All she could hear were the howling of wolves, circling, their voices drawing nearer and nearer, louder and louder. The mighty Casey had struck out. I think my two favorite bits of virtuoso improv, I guess virtuoso improv, just bits of improv description that I've pulled off in recent months for D&D were one, when one of the players decided to imbibe a highly hallucinogenic drink in the hopes of gaining some sort of spiritual insight. And I decided to narrate like a good 15-minute long Inception style dream. Like it kept on going deeper and deeper into like things opened up and then descended deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It was a wild trip, and it was completely made up on the spot. And it ended up having, there were elements of that dream, as they revealed themselves to, the player discovers, like I decided that I would include some rather cryptic images in that dream, which by the final epic battle conclusion of the campaign did find sort of a form, like it tied in. So that was kind of fun. And then the other bit was probably, I think, the epic final battle. There were a number of things that I had planned that ended up going a completely different direction, and so I just kept improving different things, and it was a lot of fun. Did we not stop by this guy? We did not stop by this guy. Hey, M squared. Yeah, yeah. I really enjoy DMing. I've been doing it for over 20 years now. Um, when I first started out, there were some things I was really bad at. There's still some things I'm not great at, but I think like every DM needs to discover where their strengths are and play towards them. There's You'll always find that there are things that you are really good at and things that you're decent at and other things which you are terrible at. And you will watch some other DM who is really good at the thing that you're terrible at, and then you will feel like you're a horrible DM. And it's like, no, it's just you're a different DM. It's like you can learn from them, and you can become better. But you don't need to get hung up on the fact that you're not exactly like someone else. Like I have, like probably the best DM I know was my DM in Los Angeles, and he was like he had everything, right? Here he is. He had he had a background in, let's see, growing up, he had been in, let's see, he'd grown up with a mother who was an actor, and he himself ended up, that's not good, out of Tinder. Hello? You can still hear me? Oh, it's game muted. It is not. Let me check and see here. Let's see. Is that gonna work? That's not it. Okay, and that one's working. Yeah, I may have accidentally reset in some way. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So my old DM, he was a professional lawyer, um, who had put himself through school as a puzzle maker in Ren fairs. So he loved to ham things up. He was also very good at building things. He was very good at he memorized speeches and memorized. He read widely. Really knew his Shakespeare as well, and read military history. Read all sorts of strategy, and did all sorts of other sort of studied widely. He was a big fantasy and sci-fi fan, big philosophy fan. So when he came up with his villains or his NPCs, yeah, we can raise it up a little bit. How's that? That's a little bit better? Okay. Um, when he played his villains or NPCs, they all were really interesting characters, and he had different voices for them. And he could drop in a really eloquent, compelling speech on the spot, and it was just really good at all this sort of thing. It just really, the battles were extremely well planned out. The plots were really intricate. Um, and then because he was pretty successful as a lawyer, he also had the funds to be able to have a gigantic collection of minis. And then he had Dwarven Forge. He bought so much Dwarven Forge that the owner of Dwarven Forge would send him Christmas cards every year and kind of let him know in advance about upcoming sets that they were about to release. But it was a personal Christmas card that he got from the owner of Dwarven Forge, which was wild. And he had his own 3D printer for printing additional minis and models and things like that. He had built a secret lair in his basement. In the basement, there was a crawl space between the upper floor and in the basement, which he under. There's a garage, and there was this crawl space, which he expanded into a full-size gaming room behind a secret bookshelf, that would push into the space, and you get in there. And then he had built a custom table in there that was perfectly sized to have a whole large group of people around to play D&D. Or it was also, and then it had inset. He used 1-inch tiles, you could buy for doing like kitchen backsplashes, things like that. But he had found a type of tile that looked like dungeon tile, and so that was also part of the table as well. And then it was all hooked up with Wi-Fi and everything else. It was so, it was so. I mean, he had all these resources and all this talent and all this ability, and it was intimidating to feel okay, it's how do I be a DM when I don't have the same resources, and I don't have a theatrical background, and I don't have all these other like tools that he had at his disposal. And it took me a time to realize, like, no, I don't have to be my friend Alan. I can be me. My strengths are the ability to, I think my strengths are the ability to improv interesting description and compelling, sequences of things. I can also come up with really intricate and, clever, interesting, or funny sort of mechanisms. As someone with a background in game, working in the video game industry, thinking about what makes for an interesting puzzle or interesting, combat situation, or how to use the landscape or how to use elements in the environment in interesting ways. And so like I think about that type of stuff. I think about like interesting like even sort of social traps or social situations, and try to come up with ways to play off of that. And I love wordplay, and I love like so I think like those are some of the things that I'm good at. I'm good at balancing combat design with creating interesting, maybe not necessarily completely rules as written, but just fun things to do. I love having malfunctioning magical items in the game. Things that don't work quite as intended, but even though they're broken or work in weird ways, the party members, the players can figure out ways to use them in interesting, effective ways. And so I think those, and then overall, like the ability to tell a story, to think through a story, to tell a story. And at the same time, I think my biggest strength is to improvise while drawing on threads, ideas, things that other people have already given me in the course of conversation or in their character backgrounds, to weave that together, to take all the parts, weave it into a unity so that it feels like it was planned that way. That I think is probably my strength. And so even if it is in reality accidental, coincidental, or me just like spitballing stuff and throwing things out there, and then the party ends up following up on it, I just kind of build off of that. I give them plenty of room to explore, and then I see which threads they want to choose, which ones they choose, and then we follow them, and I just kind of can improv wherever that's going to go next. I think it might be, yeah. I've actually just recently picked up a bunch of new table books that I read about and I'd seen before, but there are 3 books by Madeline Hale. There's like Table Fables, which is a short one, which is kind of all the kind of like the very, very essential type of tables that a DM might want. It ranges from like different breakfasts, like meals, but also mundane treasure items, character backgrounds, a bunch of name tables, disabilities and character quirks, and then a kingdom generator, quest generator, hostile encounters, wilderness events, things like that. So that's kind of your first one. And then the second one, Table Fables 2, is like world builders tables. And basically, if you're wanting to build out, a campaign world of some sort of setting or adventure, this might be a good way to kind of proceed through, to flesh it out a little bit more. And then there's this massive tome, Arcane Artifacts and Curious Curios, which is like, I think, 800, 900, almost 1,000. It's 1,000. 1,000 different magical and pseudo-magical items. And, it's just inspiration. Oh, I love wild magic surges and stuff like that. I also love like coming up with really weird. What is going on here? Why do we have? Okay, we're gonna put a fire in here that will last for a while. And the question I have. When does it get cold? Does it get cold? Where can we put a snow shelter? Then we're going to have to go back up there and do a snow shelter by the cave. I mean, by the mine. Uh-oh. I forgot we still have the guts on us. Should have carried the torch with us. You want to come for us? He's going to leave us. Let's dump all the stuff that needs to cure.
Damn it. I'm so hungry.
Yeah, so the end of my D&D campaign, my Friday night campaign, I think the thing that we did, let's open this up. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of wild. So like one of the things I did was I created. So because I knew the campaign was ending, and I knew that we wanted to have a really epic final combat, I gave the party the opportunity to choose to have certain arcane and ancient, sort of not completely understood runes tattooed onto their bodies, and they could choose which one they wanted. They would just have a sense of what it was about, but they wouldn't know what the powers were for the tattoo until the conditions were met. And so the conditions were that when they lost 25% of their hit points, so when they're at 75% health, then stage one would happen. At 50% health, stage two happens, and then at 25% health, so when you're down to your last quarter of health, then finally sort of this stage three would happen. And the stages for these different things were unique to each tattoo type. And they were really broken. They were really broken. But the trade off was like, do you want to stay in this very vulnerable state to benefit from this ability? Or do you want to, where you might risk being killed, the next round? So, like for example, there was a fist tattoo which was associated with force and melee combat, and so the person that got that discovers, because they're a frontline fighter, they're quite quickly they discover that at 75% health, they have every single punch that they're delivering, because they actually were using gauntlets, fighting with gauntlets or fists, dealt an extra 1d10 force damage. And it was like, oh, that's pretty good. Like that just tacks on to everything else as an extra d10 of force. And then at stage two, they discover it's not 1d10 anymore. It's now 2d10 for every strike. What? And then at stage three, it becomes 4d10 for every strike. So it's just a massive amount of damage being wailed out, with every hit. And then someone chose the crown tattoo, which turns out to be a little bit on the evil side. At your 75% hit point, you gain an aura, a fear aura that causes everyone to make a wisdom save or be frightened. But you also gain the ability to issue a command as per the spell. So a single word command, once per round, to different people. So you can choose an individual and command them. But at stage two, suddenly you have a bonus action where you can grant party members an extra action. So it's just like the Warlord from 4th edition. You basically use your turn to, bonus action on your turn to grant someone else an extra action. So you can make the fighter go again. You can cause the rogue to move. You can do other things. And then at stage three, when you're at 25% hit points, just about dead, power word kill. So it's like, it's really broken. Yeah. And so, and I think for the cleric chose the star, which was like at 75% hit points, you have an aura that deals damage, 1d10 radiant damage to undead, and aberrations, within 10. Stage two, you can trade up to 5d10 of your own hit points to cause 10d10 damage to one target. But at stage three, now you're just about dead at like last quarter hit points. You can choose to drop your hit points to 1d10, roll a 10-sided die. That's all the hit points you'll have left to deal out 20d10 to up to 5 enemies. Which is like, you can sacrifice yourself in order to like mow down the last of the enemies in there. And so it was just kind of, yeah. And they didn't know what their powers were until they dropped down to those levels. And so there's like a mixture of curiosity about, like, as they start to realize how these things work, they're like, I wonder what my stage 3 is. You know, they're like, it's like, do I risk it? Because if I get down to that point, and they had a couple encounters where they could, you know, deal with some initial like threats before they finally got to the big boss. So they got a chance to get a taste of what it was like before the final boss. And then, in some cases, they didn't actually get to their stage 3s with the final boss. They chose to stay like in the safe zone, but others did. You know, try to get there. You know, it's definitely not a set of powers you would want them to have throughout an entire campaign. But if it's like the last 2 sessions, sure. You know, let them have fun. Let them feel powerful. As long as you can bring sort of equal, you know, to that. And so the boss for them was able to dish out a fair bit of damage. Had 3 different types of main attacks. But one of the attacks, the damage dealt, the necrotic damage dealt, translated into like half of that would be returned to it as healing. And so, you know, it would do a massive amount of damage, almost wipe out someone, and then heal themselves up. You know. Is it going to be like this the whole time? This is not going to be. It's not what we asked for. We didn't ask for a storm. Well, I think we'll probably have to end the stream on this cliffhanger as to what Astrid's going to do. I have an idea of what we'll probably end up doing, but one approach might be that we go to the... Oh, there's no bed in there either. So anywhere we go, we don't have a bed. So that's our problem. So yeah, I think unfortunately it means we're just going to stay up through the night. I don't think we have enough coffee. We got 1 coffee. Okay, let's save this cliffhanger. We are on day 18. If the storm ends, we might leave in the middle of the night. Okay, that's not bad. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna 19, day 19. Okay, we're gonna wrap up here. And then we'll pick up next time. Let's read one last poem. Boom, 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 boom. Letter 10. Should we letter 10? We've done letter 10 before. Well, I mean, we've done all of these before. The ones we haven't done are the ones I haven't sent out for publication, which I need to do. I should probably do that this weekend. A lot of stuff I should do. Okay. I think we'll go with... We'll do this again. We've been doing this lately. Picking poems that never made it into any of my books. They show up as my chapbooks as, like, you know... Okay, so like old poems that didn't find a home anywhere. I feel like some of these, like the lines, ended up going into other poems. But here's this one. Wandering the streets at night. I forget the simplest things. Cannot recall street signs or names, the convenient markers of place and time. Hold only to the tired man striking a piano's skin, weighing its fragile frame, the falling hammer, the elsewhere smash of stone on glass, the path I'm walking, 2 miles, then 3, thinking how we drown in rain, pray for storms to come with sudden mercy, how we close each night with the news of war. And you, drifting at the edge, how far, you tell me, you have walked from a hearse out of gas down an empty road. What memory of the dead turns your father's face over, a quarter buried in the jeans, an offering to the tin can warriors when you pay the girl on the corner for a map to the hollow world. A circle of bones, street after street, row after row. I cannot fathom how this world fits together, how we know one end from another. Even the dead must wonder. Even the dead sleeping, waiting, lifting their limbs free from their heavy beds, the stars reaching out beyond the long gaze of the moon, their secret arms beckoning home. I feel like I could probably edit this and turn it into something that would get published. It feels like, I think some of these things, it's like it's been such a long time that now I have sufficient distance that I can think about them again. Sometimes you get stuck. You're too close to the poem. You can't figure out how to edit it anymore. I think we want to do one more. We'll do one more. Oh, these are old poems. Looking at some of these. 1998. Oh, that was so long ago. Some of these are so, like, I mean, there was a time when I wrote poems like this. You had this kind of romantic, sentimental way of looking at the world. This was Shopping After Midnight. Your face seems familiar when we pass in the grocery aisle sometime after midnight. Perhaps you were a lounge singer in a previous life in some dingy cafe dim lit by twilight and empty but for me, sleeping at cat tables and writing poetry between dreams, all the while listening to your voice, pouring the smoothness of blues back into the night. See, this is like, no, I can't do this because there are like too many problems with this. Like, hindsight is like, why are you a lounge singer in a cafe and not like a bar? That doesn't make sense. And then there's no smoothness of blues. There's a smoothness of jazz. That's different. It's like, yeah, I can't do that one. That's too many problems. Yeah. Okay, we'll do this. This is one last one for fun. At the first annual physicist ball. This one was just me having fun with math and physics. A calculus of moving bodies. We circle, move, oscillate, our hands and feet dividing time, dividing space, integrating over time. Think of differentiation, the separation of variables, bodies in motion, bodies at rest, and the hair slick, sweat pressing clothes tight as skin. At the end, the elastic collisions, the energy returned as we depart at rates inversely proportional to our size. But it's so true. You know, you think about it, like, I don't know. It's just strange. That one actually got published, believe it or not. Weird, no accounting for taste, right? I put that into a submission with like 4 other poems, and which were all much more serious poems, and I didn't think anyone would like the last one. I just threw it in, and it turned out to be that was the one. That was the one they wanted. So you never know. Okay, so let's figure out who we're going to. Okay, so let's figure out where we're going next. I'm gonna raid and run. Who's up? Deadpool. Carradine. We'll drop in on Carradine. Marathon Beachcombing. Okay. Okay, so we're going to head over to Carradine, another TLD streamer, and I am going to go to bed because I'm tired and I need to be up in the morning. So I guess most of us have to get up in the morning, right? Okay, so thank you all for hanging out. We will be back again soon-ish. Tuesday night, but maybe tomorrow night. We'll see. I don't know who's going to be around on tomorrow night, but maybe I'll be on.